What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we gotta talk about hacking the PlayStation Classic and whether it's even worth doing. Now, normally I'm not a big fan of trying to hack into stuff simply because it's very risky. Even if you're trying to do the best console mods that are incredibly safe, there's always that small chance that you're going to end up completely breaking your console, and normally I just don't like to run that risk. But I will be honest that recently I did hack my SNES Classic Edition for the main reason of I just wanted to put more games on this. The way this thing manages to play stuff and emulate is so clean and so crisp that it was irresistible, and I had to put stuff like Final Fantasy on there. But when it comes to this thing, honestly, I was very against this when it first came out simply because mine broke so quick. I did a full review of it, and within the first few hours, mine busted and I had to get a replacement. And even still, now that I'm able to play it, the selection of games still isn't super superb, but thankfully, my good buddy, the YouTuber RGT85, actually messaged me a couple hours ago and said that he had discovered a way to break into this console and add additional games very easily just using a USB stick. So I decided to test it out, and honestly, it's pretty dang cool. So really, I wanted to try and get into the code and see if I could, well, first and foremost, install better versions of games. Because the biggest issue, in my opinion, with the PlayStation Classic is that most of the games they decided to encode on the console were actually the PAL versions of PS1 games, which ran about 12% slower. So when I was trying to play something like Tekken Tag Tournament or Tekken 3 or something like this, it didn't really go that smoothly. Even when I was having an absolute blast in other games, it just didn't seem to go as smoothly as I would like. So now I'm able to actually encode the NTSC version, which is going to run a lot faster and a lot better, but along with that, I can put in games that needed to be on this in the first place, like freaking Crash Bandicoot. Crash 3 Warped is a masterpiece, and seriously still one of my favorite 3D platformers of all time. So really, as you can see here, I just played a couple levels of it, and it's so freaking crisp. This really kind of highlights the biggest reason that I'm kind of glad I did hack my console is because, honestly, I feel like if you're making one of these classic micro systems, it needs to have a wide range of good games, but mostly the ones that basically represent the console the most expertly, and Crash is definitely one of those. Plugging these games in is not difficult. We'll link down below RGT's video showing you how to do it, but really, you basically just download a game, drop it onto a USB drive, and put it in there, and you can add one extra game at any time. Going through Crash is really sweet, but it does highlight something about this, which is that all the gameplay you're seeing here is only 720p. It's not even 1080p, and it's just sort of a upscaled resolution of the original PS1 output. It's not true HD. So really what I'm just basically warning you is, if you haven't bought a PlayStation Classic yet, and you're thinking about picking one up simply to try and emulate and basically play games in the cleanest way possible, it's not going to look super crisp. Now, just as a crazy side-by-side comparison, on the left here, I actually have the PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy VII, and on the right side, this is the PS1 classic version of Final Fantasy VII. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to show you the side-by-side of what the difference is between upscaled and higher emulation. Now, as you can see, the biggest thing here is that the texture models and everything is a lot more stark. It is very crisp, and everything really kind of stands out against the backdrop. Whereas what you're getting on this side is certainly not bad. It's just one of those things where you're definitely getting very purified visuals of the original PS1 style. But normally I don't actually have a big issue with that. Maybe it's just because I grew up with these that they don't actually look bad in the first place. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I sort of prefer that graininess to the look because it reminds me of the games I played when I was little. Now, something that's probably probably the coolest about this, beyond just getting to play the games that are missing from this, is I am a very big PlayStation collector, especially when it comes to the PlayStation 1. I mean, trying to track some of these down, though, is very, very difficult, and there's no way to really slice that. Some of the games out there, especially the RPGs or some of the more peculiar horror stuff, are nearly impossible to track down, but now, using these techniques, you can very easily drop them on a USB and play them. This also provides an opportunity to play a lot of games that were never officially released, because a lot of very talented and passionate people have managed to create fan translations of certain RPGs that never came to America. It's also a great opportunity to try and play some stuff that's extremely rare, like Bushido Blade. This is a very weird Square Enix project that's honestly one of the most difficult sword fighting games ever made. As you notice on the screen, there isn't even a health bar. I mean, straight up, it's just one of those things where you basically have to go in there and slash until your opponent is dead and you're alive, or you're on the ground and they're walking away the victor. And all of this is extremely cool, mostly because it is so simple. It's so clean. Now, something else about this is everything you're seeing in this video is just the most baseline current hacking we have available. Already, people are hard at work trying to do stuff like increase the frame rate, fix the scan lines so things are actually even cleaner looking, and doing all sorts of stuff like that in the background. All you're seeing here is if I plugged my USB directly into the system and tricked it into thinking that there is one additional game each time I plug it in. And honestly, I still think that this is pretty dang cool, but not quite the $100 price tag. If you're somebody who is currently watching this video, please give it a like. And I want you to kind of consider the fact that I am a PlayStation collector. I have hundreds of PlayStation games, and even I am not yet willing to purchase a PlayStation Classic. I did it for work to try and make these videos, but normally I wouldn't have done it. A lot of the games that I want to play most, like the Final Fantasies and some of the other stuff, has already gotten remastered collections. I mean, Final Fantasy IX is a freaking masterpiece, but I can play it on PlayStation 4 with cheat codes, higher resolution, and trophies, all to try and keep me motivated. So really, I think that this fits into a separate category, which is the incredibly focused collectors who are trying to play everything on the system who have a little bit of extra cash. Perhaps if you're somebody who is particularly interested in trying to hack your PlayStation Classic, just wait another month. Right now, there is a massive team of hackers trying to crack open every single option they could possibly fathom to deal with this little machine. So if you hold off a tiny bit, I'm sure we're going to be able to find ways to essentially reprogram the entire internals to be filled with 20 amazing games, the same way we did with other stuff. Until then, though, if you're really craving a lot of PlayStation 1 stuff, perhaps I should suggest you pick up the PlayStation TV, which unfortunately is a mostly forgotten device. This was a little experiment done by Sony, which is essentially a PS Vita with no screen and instead an HDMI. And the reason I say that is when you play a PlayStation TV, you can actually stream your PS4 onto that TV. You can play PS1 games in 720 and they look so freaking good. Many of them even have widescreen. You can also do stuff like play PSP games, play PS Vita games, all on your television, and it's pretty dang neat. Whereas this, even in the best scenario, is obviously only going to be playing really, really cool and really, really interesting PlayStation 1 games in a little bit of a peculiar resolution. Now, I'm not saying I regret getting this, I just wish that we had a little bit more functionality to it right now. It's cool that I can play so many incredibly rare games and fan-patched things like rare horror games, you know, Clock Tower 2 and stuff like that, but it's still not quite enough. If you already have a PlayStation Classic, though, you need to hack it. This thing is so paltry and so lackluster that otherwise you're essentially wasting money if you don't hack it. The default games are not spectacular, and you're not going to be spending 100 hours playing Jumping Flash. Put stuff like Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, or stuff like the weird, crazy X-Files game. Those are way more worth your time, and honestly, it's a little bit of a pain to try and swap swap the games one by one when you want to play them, but if you already have the hardware, you already have the USB, and you already have the time, enjoy it, do it, celebrate what this console was. To be quite frank, it's just so easy that I'm probably going to go throw Diablo on there, because even though it's the terrible PS1 version, that game is so quirky, and playing it with the original controllers again is an experience that I gotta try out. But what do you guys think? Do you have a PlayStation Classic right now, and are you willing to try and dig through the code to do all these little mods? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and tell me the game you're going to be putting on it first. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Also, my good buddy Spawnwave just put up a video about 30 minutes ago that's talking about basically how good things look on there, including some gameplay of Mega Man Legends. So definitely go check out that and RGT's how-to video. Thanks for watching, and I don't know why I'm stuttering. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.